everybody. Raph Esparza coming to you live on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. It is 2:07 on Best Coast time. I am so excited as we get even closer to EBI, because here's the thing, guys. EBI is always fun. It's a little bit more hectic for those of us watching, me especially, when you add slaps to the ability to watching people compete at an EBI. But I hear that people love it, especially when you've fought MMA before, as is the case with our good friend who is joining us today, who is not only a competitor at previous EBIs, but will be participating in this week's Combat Jiu Jitsu at EBI 17. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome black belt and the owner of Triunfo, our good friend, Senor Felipe Fogolin. Felipe, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. I'm glad to be talking to you right now. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Absolutely, dude. You know, I get excited because I watch these EBI preview shows, and when they put them up, you were the first one to start. And whenever they put that first person on there, I go, oh, they want us to pay attention to this person. So it was kind of cool to see you tell your story, because I'm friends with many of the same people who attend your gym. I'm friends with a lot of the people who like you. And it was really cool to hear you tell your story. What was that experience like, getting interviewed and kind of showing off your gym a little bit?
It was amazing, because the guys they send to do the interviews, they're always so cool, you know, so I feel really comfortable talking to them. So it's like I'm feeling really comfortable talking to you because I know you already.
Sure.
And it was just like, you know, they make you feel so good and comfortable that, you know, it just goes naturally.
And like, how long are they staying with you? Like, how long is a recording session for that?
It was only a couple hours. They came in during the prime time at the gym around 6 o'clock, and our 6:30 training was starting. They got to talk to me a little bit and do the interview outside the gym. And, you know, they filmed me a little bit practicing for the tournament, and, you know, just a normal class inside the gym, a no-gi class. They came on a good day because it was no-gi too. So yeah, it went by fast. It went by really quick, you know, actually.
I think the funny part to me is that when I see this footage and I can look on there and I see Dane, and I just think to myself, you know, those slaps that happened to his face, I'm like, oh, Dane, I feel very bad for you. Rolling with you I know is difficult as is, but rolling with slaps or strikes, I'm sure can be very, very difficult. But I definitely love that when I walk in and my wife sees it, she sees me go like, oh, don't we know Dane? And I was like, we do. And it's not looking good for him right now.
No, man, I'm really grateful for Dane and Terry. You know, they do an amazing job at the gym. Dane actually just started a 6 a.m. class. And it's just amazing to see how many people comes up for those classes, you know, really freaking early in the morning. And every time I need somebody to cover for me, especially right now, helping me out, you know, while I'm getting ready for the fight, he's always there for me. So is Terry and everybody at the gym. You know, we have a really awesome group of people. It's like everybody comes to me, is like, Felipe, there's no assholes in your gym. It's insane, you know, like there's not even one. And that's I don't know what happens. Is me. I think it's just the energy, you know, inside the place, and just makes everybody, you know, goes through that camaraderie energy, and, you know, help each other out and collaborate with each other. So, and that's what I live for, actually. You know, that's my main goal over there at the gym, and that's a dream come true. So, you know, I'm pretty grateful for that.
Now, you mentioned, you know, a little bit about Dane kind of stepping in, but I know you have other instructors, other people there. You know, how much of that does that mean that you have to step away when you get in a big tournament like this? You know, do you have to kind of allow them to take the lead as you start to kind of pull back a little bit? I'm not really sure what that process is. So do you mind describing
Well, yeah, for the last, it's awesome because I have some black belts, Ito, and Chris, and they just step in, you know, when they see like this past couple weeks that I have to be practicing specifically for this tournament and doing 10-minute rolls with, like, you know, fresh people every 3 minutes and slaps going on. So we take a little bit of space of the mat, and the class goes on the other side of the mat. And sometimes I feel that vibe, people watching us, you know, and seeing what's going on, because they can hear it, you know, like we were practicing pretty hard and slapping pretty hard, and some of the slaps, they're loud, you know, they get loud. Sometimes it's like loud, it's louder than what it feels for real, you know. It's just loud. It doesn't feel that bad, but yeah, people will look around. Yeah, we have to, separate the mat a little bit.
Sure.
And for the past couple weeks, they've been helping out a lot. My students, just being very understanding of everything and giving me the utmost support. So yeah, it's amazing.
I like that you tell us they sound worse than they are. I have a
Yeah.
hard time believing that, and maybe it's just because I haven't fought MMA, or I'm
I
not
think,
built like you. Because the best part is you're saying like, when you have to get down to the weight. So what's the weight for this weekend?
It's 186.
186. Okay.
They allow, yeah.
So when you say
185 plus most part.
you're pretty much on weight. I don't know how revealing this is, but you and I are apparently the same realm of weight, and one of us looks like we're in shape, and the other one is me. So when I hear someone start to describe like, yeah, it doesn't hurt me, I'm like, you're my same frame, but I take one of those slaps and I'm not doing this tournament. I've had a couple of rolls where I've had people do that to me, unexpected, and I was just like, it brings out a different side of you, where you're just like, whoa, I thought this was fun. I thought we were friends. Who acted prison roles here?
I don't know. It's still fun though. It's still fun. I mean, like it's not that bad because it could be. It depends where you hit it.
Sure.
If it's in the temple and the nose, it could be. But sometimes it's just like a big noise on the like this. It sounds worse than it is. Like especially if hitting the body or hitting the head. It just sounds a little too much, and people just like, oh shit, and.
Yeah.
It's like, and then after that, they're like, man, that was a good one. I was like, yeah, but like in the midst of the fight, in the midst of like everything, you don't even think about it,
I mean,
you just like, yeah.
I definitely commend you for that.
Yeah, it definitely changed the whole game in some of the positions, like that you don't want to expose your face. You don't want to get slapped. That's what. But like when it happens, you got to move right away so it doesn't get any worse than what it is.
Absolutely. And I do think that it does keep you honest in a different way as a competitor, because it was brought on as part of, I believe, in response to a criticism of EBI originally, which was that people would just allow them to get into dominant positions from underneath so that they could set up moves, and people were saying, like, that's just not realistic. Well, this is a little more realistic, I think, in the sense that, you don't hang in being mounted for too long. You can find a match can stop and do that sort of thing. We had a note here from one, Kevin Widows, who's watching, I believe, probably from Vegas, and he just said,
"What's
Coach,
up, Widows?"
And he said,
Hey.
Felipe will win the whole damn thing.
Fuck yeah.
It's fun because Kevin is a well-versed individual at that. He's fought MMA. He's a very notable commentator for Jiu-Jitsu as well and MMA. So that's always got to feel good when even your students, when they have to move away, give you a nice
man,
confidence when they're...
I miss that guy so much. I miss you, Kevin, and I wish he was here. He already competed in this tournament as Combat Jiu Jitsu, so he knows what it is, and I wish he was around, but people move around, just like me. I came from Brazil, I'm here now. He moved to Las Vegas. He couldn't be here with us right now, but he's a big part of my gym. He's one of my first black belts, and I love that guy, and hope he's doing well over there, and we'll come by visit him sometime soon.
I definitely rolled with him a few weeks ago, and he's doing just fine. I'll let you know that much.
I bet he hasn't put a gi on in a long time.
I did offer. I will say I did offer. I was like, we could put on a gi, and he was like, nah.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a gi in a long time since he left the gym. So, that's the beauty about jiu-jitsu, like anywhere you go, you're going to find a community, you're going to find a team, you're going to start training again, and you're going to find a new family,
Absolutely, and I know he doesn't forget you guys at all. So, you mentioned coming from Brazil, and we've never gotten to talk about that, and I do want to go there first in a second, actually. But I do want to bring up just what it felt like to get the call for EBI, because you participated in it before in the regular version. What did it feel like to get that call for this particular version of an EBI with Combat Jiu Jitsu?
I was amazing. I was expecting it, and if they didn't call me, I was gonna bug somebody over there for sure. I was gonna call, send text or something, but I got the call. Like, was one of the first ones that got the call that accepted, and I love it because I did MMA before and I focused on MMA for a while, but my passion is jiu-jitsu, is grappling, and it translates a lot. All my MMA fights I finish on the ground, and it changed the game. Like when you can punch, when you can slap, it changed the game. It's all about your pressure, your position. So for me, it was a new challenge. I'm always up to new challenge. When I first did ABI, it was a totally new dimension for me, like competing with point system in jiu-jitsu, and then going for only submissions with heel hooks, open a new dimension that I was happy to explore, to go through the heel hook system, the leg lock systems. And this is another new dimension that I'm familiar with. And I'm getting to get back to it and explore with open palms, and it's just so exciting, exciting to go over there. And I can't wait for this weekend. I can't wait to go over there and get this belt home, get this belt to Triunfo, and to all my friends and people that have been supporting me.
I really like that because first of all, to get the call back is always, I'm sure, has to feel good to know that they appreciate what you've put on the stage before. And one of the things I really liked about the preview documentary that they put out is that they put that really, really intense overtime, I believe from your last appearance, where, you had a great match going into it, and there was just something extra about that overtime that made it look aggressive between, I believe, you and your opponent. And it looked like your arm took a little bit of injury, and I thought to myself, I was like, yo, I couldn't go after having that. And yet that look on your face when you were going for your own version of an armbar after that was, I think it makes for the stuff that people love tuning in for EBIs. So do you mind telling us what that experience was like?
Man, at that point, I remember he did a good armbar on me on the first part, and I had to tap, and I knew I had little time to get him to tap. So I, in my mind, in my heart, I just gave it my all, I gave it my all, and I ended up taking his arm. For sure, I could have done, looking back and looking at the video, I could have, kicked the bicep a little faster, closed my knees, but, with all the adrenaline going on and having the time to feel, and stretching his arm and feeling all those pops going in, and thinking that he's gonna tap, but he didn't tap. It was just I put it all I had on those seconds right there, and props to him that he didn't tap. And that's what happened right there. It was I just thought about giving every single energy I got on I was trying to do actually a bicep crush that a lot of people, and he just held to it, and then he held into the arm bar. At the gym we don't want to hurt anybody, so when we get the arm like this, it feels a little weird, to pop somebody's arm and really going for the break. But yeah, props to Kyle, he didn't tap, and he ended up advancing to the finals that day.
Yeah, and I mean, it was definitely a tough tournament any way you cut it. For either of you. Either of you would have advanced there. There was no way that either of you are 100% after that match. But I am curious, though, when you do see the clip and you do say in the promo that now you're just like, well, I'll let my arm go. People like us who are your friends have a certain moment of, okay, I mean, I'm all for you winning, but, can we not? Can we make sure your arm is going to be okay? Because I'm on site for this, dude. And the last thing I need is to come up to you and be like, well, that's silly putty now.
Yeah, it's true. It's just I was saying, last thing I want is to get hurt, and I want to win. I don't want to get even to that point.
Absolutely. Well, good. I'm glad we're in agreement on that right there. Do you feel, though, that your previous EBI experience gives you some sort of edge, because so many of these guys know each other so well in this tournament, and I was curious to find out if you believe that having competed before puts you at a better sort of advantage as well as competing in MMA?
Yeah, for sure. Competing in MMA gives you that edge of like I said, the positioning, the pressure that you have to have when you're looking for punching and striking to open other positions, to go to a dominant position that you can finish. If you go to a mount or a back position that you're flatten your opponent out and you have the chance to do the strikes, you know that you don't have to go for submission. You can just strike and get the submission right there, get the TKO. And competing in ABI previously for sure gives you that experience edge. You know, I've been there. I fought. I had already 4 fights at the tournament. The first time I went, I had no idea what was going on. Then the second time, I had more experience. I knew a little bit more what my opponents will be looking for. You know, and the leg attacks and now, you know, competing again, you know, in the same stage, you know, the same lights, it for sure helps to have been there before. You know, it's the experience, the confidence that you've been there. You know, it's just the experience. It helps just by being there before. You know.
Absolutely. Let's get into a little bit of your beginnings because, again, we've never talked about this, and I'm always curious as to where the grappler journey begins for you. So, if you don't mind taking us back, where does grappling begin for you?
Man, grappling began very, very early. My dad was a judo passionate. He loved judo, the culture, the Japanese people. He loved sushi, everything, man. And he took me at a very young age to start training judo, start competing very quickly after that as a kid. Didn't do so well in the beginning. Then we moved to another gym and started training really hard. This other gym was a really good gym from where I was in São Paulo, and we had like people getting to the Olympic Games and winning medals at the Olympic Games from that gym, and the training was insane, you know, really good training. So I grew up training judo, never thinking about jiu-jitsu or anything like that. Actually, jiu-jitsu was kind of like I had a little uh, didn't like jiu-jitsu much, you know. Not in Brazil at the time. There was a lot of jiu-jitsu guys getting into fights when we went out at, you know, at bars, clubs, went out at night, and they were always like a little cocky and, you know, looking for fights. You could see that those people, they call them pit boys in Brazil. They were looking for those fights, and they're not looking to have fun, you know. So I didn't like that much. But when I came to America, I trained at judo at some places, but jiu-jitsu was like more accessible for me. It was really close by my house, so I started training at some gyms, ended up staying at Clabbers, which was the family environment that I was looking for, and, you know, just fell right into that gym. You know, it was right close to my house, and then I fell in love with jiu-jitsu. You know, fell in love with jiu-jitsu, took all the preconcepts away that jiu-jitsu guys were, you know, like not fun to train with. You know, they had a big ego and stuff like that, and start training really, really hard from there. You know, it was my hobby. I had just a baby at the time, so my daughter was really young. I was able to take her to the gym, and people would watch her. That right there was amazing for me, you know, and I was able to, you know, work and train at the same time. And once I started like competing in jiu-jitsu and, you know, that's training more and more, and just things just fell through, you know, and opened my gym after I got my black belt. I started teaching them on gym, and then opened my own gym, and now it's been 7 years into this role, you know, in grappling. But in between that too, I met Master Rafael Cordeiro, which like introduced me to MMA, to Muay Thai, and I'm forever grateful for that. And, you know, trained with him for a long time, and nowadays, you know, I train with Coach Tyler Wambos, Classic Fight Team, and he's also an amazing friend, an amazing coach, a brother to me. And, you know, just like this role just takes you to such good paths, you know, because it's a healthy role, you know. Only good will come out of it, you know, if you take the role of a sport of jiu-jitsu, you know, community and collaboration, helping each other out. You just meet good people along the way, you know.
Cool. No, that's okay. So there's a lot to decipher here because there's stuff that I'm curious about, even with what you were just talking about. So I think the first thing that hits me is, what made you know that Kleber was the right environment for you? Because so many people go through different experiences and say like, oh, I like this, or this feels right for me. Like, what was it that resonated with you with that gym and that jiu-jitsu?
At the time, it was the people that was there. Like we had some great. I have some great friends from that place. Tough guys at the time: Asa, Chewy, Chris Chewy, Ali. Like some of the guys that were training at the time over there, and nowadays they're all black belts. They have most of them. They have their own gyms. It was an amazing group of people. Also, like there were not like me coming as a black belt in judo to a gym. Sometimes people would get weirded out and like go like go really for like breaking an arm and hurting you, like just to test you and something like that. And that was not what I was looking for. I was looking for camaraderie, a family, and at the same time hard training. Like good competitive people that are down to help. I remember going to Kleber's and Bill, he has his Lyon Jiu Jitsu school. Bill would pick me up on the side after training and show me like 10,000 moves that I was like, Bill, I need to go, Bill. Excuse me, man, I gotta go. But man, he was just like down, like people down to help, down to, share jiu-jitsu, share their lives and share their experiences. And at the time was the best place. And nothing, and not saying like about Kleber, Kleber is an amazing coach. He's the best one, like energy. Like every time you come in at the gym, he's like Felipe, or anybody comes at the gym, he's gonna greet you with that positive energy, great training, great instruction. And I cannot forget Lily too. His wife. She always she always helped me out so much with being a single dad, and having my daughter with me. And they used to go to the same school at Kleber's kids, so she was always helping me out. Like we always like help each other out, pick up that school, like, and that right there, it became, like I said, a family, like a family environment. I love them to death, and I'm so grateful for everything they did for me and for all the time that I had over there. It was just a positive thing for me at the time, being single dad, stressed out, and still being able to train, and use jiu-jitsu as my escape, for all the stress that I was going through at the time, and it worked out for the best. I felt right at home over there. That's it's a feeling that you can't describe. You just feel you're in the right place.
That's good. And I think that's a really good note to single dads everywhere, is just, jiu-jitsu can be a very, very helpful thing. I think that's the beautiful thing, is when you do jiu-jitsu, you do find yourself telling people, like, listen, this doesn't replace therapy, but it's not a bad option. It definitely helps you in so many different fields that I feel so many people connect to on that level.
Yeah. It could be, like, for a lot of people that it's therapy, it is like therapy for the mind, the body, the spirit, like it's their time,
Yeah.
where they disconnect with all the stress, everything that the bad things are going through their minds.
Yeah. I tell people quite frequently, you guys, if I have the option to train in the morning, you'll probably find I'm a much more manageable person after training in the morning. So I would be one of the people at Dane's class, because I've even told some of my coworkers, I'm like, you want to invest in having me train before I see you. It makes me a much more pleasant and funnier person. Now, kind of, again, staying on this, one of the things that's always intriguing to me is when people do fall in love with jiu-jitsu, and you mentioned, that you really fell in love with it. Do you have a specific moment or a recollection where you just knew that was it? Like, this is the thing that you want to do?
Not like that. I remember just thinking that when I started training jiu-jitsu, thinking like that I had so many, bad feelings. Not bad feelings, but like preconcept, like being like a little race about jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is not good. It has. I used to think that jiu-jitsu didn't have a philosophy in a way, like judo has, like very traditional, very respectful, and like when I started training jiu-jitsu, I was like, man, that's all out of the wind. It's just more, more actualized, more modern than judo, which is old, coming from all this old tradition in Japan. And it just depends where you train. If you train at a good place that people still hold that tradition, but in a different way, that respectfulness, everything. I remember feeling well, like I loved I loved jiu-jitsu in judo, newaza back then, and I felt that I was like a good part of my game in judo. So when I started training jiu-jitsu at a place that I really liked, I was like, wow, this is something that I want to do my whole life.
I'm also intrigued to know because I don't have a judo background, and I feel I'm far too old to get it now. But I do love the fact that there are people who study both disciplines and are very successful in both disciplines. What are the similarities between the two, if there are any? And what is that vibe like between those two?
Well, judo is more focused on the takedowns. So the fight, it happens mostly stand up. If you go to the ground, you have very limited time to make something happen. It has to be a progression of techniques that are happening, because if they stop, there's a little stalling. That there is a pause and the fight goes back stand up. And if you get a pawn, like a perfect throw, ends the fight. So that's the main goal. It's the takedown. It's kind of like wrestling. It's very very physical. You fight for the grips. You fight. It's a very very physical sport. Now, jiu-jitsu, it's mostly on the ground, right? Like if it falls on the ground, it stays on the ground, and you're looking for the submission. You're looking for positioning. So that's the main difference. One is more focused on the stand up. The other one is more focused on the ground.
Is there?
But they're both
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
they're both martial arts that that you need contact. That you once you make contact, you can use your judo for taking the person down, and then you can use your jiu-jitsu to control and submit your opponent, right?
Makes sense. And I've just always wondered if there's a similarity between the cultures or if there's similarity between the people, because I tread a little lightly when I know somebody's got a judo background, and that's just talking about it. Just because I know that there is an innate toughness to having done judo for a long time with people, but there's also there's a weird Venn diagram of people who do both. And I don't know that if you do jiu-jitsu, you necessarily are going to do a lot of judo. You might incorporate some of it into your training. But as a person who just does one, I was just curious if there is a little bit of overlap that you've ever seen just between personalities or people or stuff like that.
On my experience, judo has a lot of respectfulness, tradition. Everything is taught in Japanese. So when you go get your black belt, you got to do the kata, and you got to know all the names of the techniques and the sequences, and it's just I don't know how to explain it. It has more the Japanese tradition is imbued into it. It's in it. Now the jiu-jitsu is more Brazilian, right? Like I said, in Brazil back then, the guys wouldn't remember coming in, and they wouldn't emphasize bowing to the mat, and sign of respect for your martial arts, for where you're spending your time and all of learning. And it was more like Brazilian having fun, let's learn how to be a good fighter. And then MMA came along, but now I think both are merging. Jiu-jitsu it's growing, and more people are doing it for the right reasons. And it's the philosophy is merging, but in a more modern way. Not so Japanese. It's more universal, I feel.
Absolutely. Okay, so now I'm curious, with the people who are in Brazil, has that changed for you? Is there less of a tough guyism there, or is it similar? Because I'm speaking as somebody who's never been, and I hear wonderful things, but I also don't know that culture. So as somebody who has I'm curious.
I've been here for so long. I came when I was 19, went back to Brazil when I was 20 for 6 months, and then I decided to come back, and been living here since. So I don't know much anymore. I've been here for 14 years. My daughter just turned 14. She's going to high school now. So it's a long time I haven't been in the Brazilian. I go for a couple weeks, come back.
Sure.
But I think it's changed too. It's changed in a way. That mentality of fighting and the mentality of going out and trying to pick fights, I think it's totally out. And I think it changed a lot. Yeah.
Cool. That's good, because I know the bulk of the jiu-jitsu army is usually from nerds now here in America. And that's usually what we see, is just these guys who are like diagramming and just being like, well, I figured out the secret to jiu-jitsu. And they come in and like, when you tell us that, you know, when you first started over in Brazil, it's these tough guys. You knew that existed, but you do see things change even from my own perception. You know, now I'm seeing you get a nice mix. You get, for every nerd, you get maybe a meathead. For every nerd, you get somebody who's always been athletic. You get always like a nice mix of people, and that's what I appreciate about jiu-jitsu, is that, you know, there's kind of a place for everybody, no matter what kind of goon or nerd you may be. You know, it's a nice collective pot as we put that together. Here's a question, though. Why MMA? Because you've already done, you know, at this point, you had done judo, you had done a little bit more on the grappling side. What was it that attracted you initially to MMA?
Well, MMA is, like I said, because of Rafael Cordeiro. Like, he came by, and I ended up meeting him through a friend and start training with him before he even had a gym. Like, we went training on the beach a couple of times. Then things just like follow in a way that he opened a gym right by Clabbers, so I started training with him a lot, and he's an amazing person. So just like felt really lucky and blessed to have like a person like him, like so close and being so convenient to train with him. So it just like happened that way, you know. And training with him and training Muay Thai just opened the route to go to MMA, you know, and use the little Muay Thai I had and the jiu-jitsu that I had to, you know, to test myself in the sport. But I always felt that, like, I always felt into my judo, into my jiu-jitsu, you know, and it was just the Muay Thai, and the striking part was just more like, okay, now you can go and do it, you know. But I fell in love also too with Muay Thai. Muay Thai is an amazing Muay Thai kickboxing, amazing sport. They're totally different. So when I'm getting too much jiu-jitsu, I feel I use the Muay Thai to balance a little bit.
That's cool. And I do notice that with your team specifically, is there is a nice rounded nature of it. You know, I see a lot of different classes go on that aren't just jiu-jitsu. I see that you guys train a little bit of everything. And I think that's so welcoming for a number of reasons, especially when you combine a fight team with your everyday practitioners, and it seems that it's very inviting to all. So that's always something that I try to take a look at. But and it does help when you've had somebody who's done it all.
Yeah, and sometimes like people that are in jiu-jitsu, but then let's say the academy didn't have any Muay Thai, they won't have the chance to train. But since you have it at the gym, sometimes there's a migration, you know. People will train both, and then they will feel like going to MMA. And so it gives them like different routes that they can take too, or both, you know. If they want to do Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, or just Muay Thai, and you know, it's more people coming into the gym, and more people to me, and like you said, like all walks of life, all walks of people coming into the gym, and it keeps a good balance for me, you know. When I love training striking, it's so different sport, and then, you know, go for jiu-jitsu, you know, and putting them together in MMA. I really like that. MMA is such a complete sport. It involves like every single martial arts: wrestling, judo, striking, boxing, kicks, knees, ground and pound. Like it's the most complete martial art, you know. So it was just like a natural thing for me, like training Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, to go for it and implement that in my gym too.
What was the most important thing that you've gotten out of training for MMA?
The most important thing that I got training for MMA is to really like feel like, how can you use your Jiu-Jitsu if somebody's trying to punch you, you know? It's like judo, like nobody's trying to punch you, you're just trying to take each other down. Now, you know, and no, jiu-jitsu too is mostly on the ground, but like when somebody's trying to strike at you, how can you get close, and how can you, you know, really tie together, like get a hold of the guy in a safe way so you can take him down and really control your opponent, you know? I think that was like plus, like just the love for it too. I think it was really important for me to like learn something new at the time. And learn from a great master like Master Rafael Cordeiro. He was a great master. Because of him and me training with him, like I met some of like the toughest fighters, Fabricio Verdun, Vanderlei Silva. I got to train with those people, Machida, Shogun, and when you train with those people, you can see, man, that they're just normal human beings, just like you, living their life, doing what they love, and
I don't know if they're just like me. For a number
just
of
like
reasons,
anybody.
but I'm sure, do we both go to the supermarket? Yes. Do we both go occasionally watch a movie or Netflix? Yes. Do I step inside a cage and violently try to hurt somebody? Not particularly. Though I do tell people, and I do appreciate this, is that, when you mention the self-defense angle, it is good to have that well-roundedness, because I always mention to people, if some guy came and attacked me and he's wearing a suit, oh man, it is on. I know exactly where to use that suit. So I think it's very important that you have those dynamics.
MMA is a tough, very tough sport too. Like it's a challenge the first time you go inside the cage.
Yeah,
it's a challenge in your mind. Like you're gonna get punched. If you mess up, and that challenge. It's healthy, it's a healthy challenge. I feel, like you're afraid, but you're still going in there and you're still doing your best. And it's kind of like combat jiu-jitsu, it's not punches, but you're gonna get slapped, and could hurt, and it's gonna be different than just being relaxed in a certain position. So it's the challenge too. I felt like facing the challenge was a really good thing for me.
Do you have a preference, though, for combat jiu-jitsu? Is it more important to get the submission, or is it more important to get the slap knockout?
I think they go both together, right? It's more important to get the submission because that's where you get the money, and that's where you get the 5,000. If you win the whole.
If you finish somebody via slaps in combat jiu-jitsu.
Oh yeah,
okay,
for sure. Yeah, you can finish like that
what
too.
What kind of terrible loophole is that?
I think both, one opens the other. I feel like when you're slapping, it probably could open a submission, and it's more chances for submissions. Like you were saying in the beginning, they're saying like, oh, people will let the other person get a dominant position, like mount the back, Mm-hmm. And now if you can get the mount, you can probably finish somebody from the mount and the back too, even from side control. So. It's a bigger chance now to get to the TKO or the submission and get to the money, and get to the goal of jiu-jitsu, which is like making the guy say stop.
Yeah. And this is something that's always intrigued me about fighters or grapplers as we get a couple days out. Right now we're about 2 days out from EBI. What does that process look like for you as you prepare? Like, what did the next 2 days look like for you when you are competing, or since you've been in this before, as you prepare for an EBI?
Well, my weight is good, like I'm 5 pounds, but I still, like now I'm not going to train, I'm not going to roll hard or slap anybody right now for the next couple of days. I'm going to just probably go out for a run and watch out what I eat and, and focus on the weight. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And try to rest my mind, not think about too much, what's, like, not getting, nervous, like anything like that. Just stay calm and focus on the way. And, I probably have to go out for a run or do a little sauna before, to cut the last couple pounds. So that's probably going to be it.
Are there people that you see on the list that you would like to be matched up with?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't looked much at the list. I know that some of the guys that are in there, but I haven't looked at all the 16 guys. I'm actually waiting to see the brackets and then take a look at it. So I have actually no preference in who they match me up with. I don't know like a bunch of the guys, but yeah, not really. Don't have any preference of matching. Like whoever comes, it's meant to be, and it's gonna be the challenge.
So it doesn't sound like you're somebody who necessarily game plans for this kind of a tournament where there are a lot of uncertainties in terms of individual opponents. You know, some people look and study those 15 other people and everything that they can to look
maybe that's a flaw for me. I don't like to do that. I don't like to study what people do. You know, I want to focus on what I do. I feel that if you focus a little too much on what other people do, you kind of get concerned about it too much. He does this, I'm not going to do that. It's good to know and be aware, but not focus so much on what other people do. I want to focus on what I'm going to do and keep confident that what I'm going to do is going to work, you know. So
I also am naturally trying to figure out how you do a preparation for EBI while starting a move. You guys moved to a different location for your gym. So how does that happen? Because I know you guys started the move originally somewhere around like May or June or something like that. And then I think you guys had like a grand opening a little bit later, maybe August or September. So what did that move entail and how much was that?
Oh man, it was insane. It was like he came out of nowhere. Like we were planning on staying at the place that we were good over there, and then a bigger company came by and rented the whole space, and they had to throw us out in 30 days. So in those 30 days, we had to find a place, and you know how hard it is sometimes to find the perfect place that is going to accommodate everything. You know, your kids, your adults, but thankfully we found a good space, which was full, like it was a drugstore before, but they left everything inside, so the whole team came together and demolished the whole place together.
I'm just gonna make sure when you say it was a drugstore and they left everything behind, did they leave that good behind too? You guys got all like
they left some of that too, you know. Actually, like it was found over there. Some people found it, but like they left all the shelves, everything that they had. Like just took most of the drugs, but they left a lot of garbage, a lot of trash that the whole team got together and had to remove it. And in 1 week, it was insane. Like how did it happen? Like from the transformation on the place was insane. And 1 week we were able to start operating again and start holding the class at the new gym. It was insane. It was right after Pan Am's. I remember the Pan Am's finished. We had to go to the old gym and dismantle the whole gym and take everything out so the place could be empty the next day. And then that full week we worked on the new place and we were able to open on the next week, you know. So it was insane, man. But it was amazing to see everybody's helping, everybody's coming in and doing, you know, giving up their time and, you know, helping the way they could, you know.
That's awesome.
It was insane. It was awesome.
Well, I know that I think I saw you last recently around Masters Worlds, or you know, you're on record as being one of the people who I never expect I'm going to see you, but I'm definitely not surprised when I do. So it's always like you just kind of like we always pass by each other. I'm like, hey, of course you're supposed to be here. All right, I'll see you there. But Masters Worlds, you're there, and then I felt like you guys had an opening, like a grand opening sort of a thing, like shortly thereafter, a big Labor Day event where you guys have an open mat or stuff like that, where you just kind of go, man, I know you're going to be at EBI. I know you're putting that together. I know you're at Masters Worlds. I know you're opening up a gym. It just seems like that's a lot of stuff. So it's commendable that you're able to get all that stuff done.
Yeah, having a baby soon now in November.
Which, congratulations.
We have a baby boy coming up. Yeah. So yeah, it's life is, you know, being a little hectic, but that's the way I like it, to be honest. You know, like the calm in between the storm. You know. Yeah. So now the baby's coming up is gonna be the biggest event.
Sure, I mean, Combat Jiu Jitsu is fun and all. And then when the kid grows up, they're going to see this interview and being like, Dad, I was the biggest event.
Yeah, the main event of the life is coming up.
Well, that's got to be good. Yeah, it's, are you prepared for a young boy? Are you prepared for potentially a younger version of you coming through?
Yeah, I guess so, you know. Like, when I first had my daughter, I was young, you know, but it was an amazing time too, and now she's a little older. We have a family. It's me, her, and my wife right now, and the baby coming up. So it's gonna be more like a family setup. It was not gonna be like a single dad thing, So it's gonna be a different environment for sure, different vibe over here.
Does your daughter ever
Yeah, and we're
have
all ready. We're all
any?
excited.
Does she ever have any concern for you doing the combat jiu-jitsu or the heavy, crazy training that you're doing?
No, really, she's been in this environment her whole life. I take her since she's like in the baby care, and live her right by the mat and go train. So she's been living in this environment for so long. That's all she knows, like, so she doesn't have any concern about it.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, I would if I were your kid, but that's pretty dope. Philippe, I know we're running a little short on time, but I wanted to make sure we gave you a couple opportunities to say a couple things. Number one, do you have any sponsors or people that you want to go ahead and give shout outs before we start to close this on down?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I want to, say thank you to all my students and being supporting me throughout this whole process. And, my guys that have been helping me out, from clabbers coming by and getting slapped and slapping me, and making sure that I'm ready for this tournament. And especially Nick, Nick's going to be there in my corner. I want to thank him, and Alex, one of my students that also trains at Clabbers, that he came in and helped me out a lot for this tournament. And my sponsors, Moya has always been by my side. Jesse's always been a great guy for me, and I'm really thankful for him. Also, Versa Climber, Brett's a black belt from Versa Climber. He comes trains with me sometimes, and he's a great friend, and he's sponsored me for this tournament. So pretty grateful for him too. And then Polar Cryotherapy right by my house over here, keeps me recovery. I go there every day, bug them. Every day I show up over there and get a little freeze. And Greater Than Meals, she's been supporting me with my nutrition, and being able now to make way easy because of her food. So thank you very much for these people. Also, shout out to Kleber, my friend Rafael from Angara Jiu Jitsu. He just opened his gym in Ladera Ranch, and it's the first affiliate of my gym. First student of mine that opened his own gym, so I'm pretty happy for him. He's in Ladera Ranch. It's called Mangara Jiu Jitsu and CrossFit, and I don't know. I think that's pretty much it. And thank you, Raf, for having me on your show, and making this interview possible.
Yeah, I mean, you showed up. That's really I press a button is really what it comes down to, and then it goes out to the people.
Come on, dude.
No. What I do want to make sure, though, is as we do close up, the last two questions I had for you are pretty simple, but I always like to get where people are at on these things. So the first one is just for the immediate. What can people expect when they see you compete over at EBI this weekend?
Aggressiveness. I'm going to be really aggressive, and I'm going to go out for a submission. I want to make that money, and I'm going to get to the end, and I want to make the whole $20,000. So, yeah, in order for you to make that, you got to be aggressive, know when to attack, when to, put your weight, and, keep in control. So they should expect that. Should expect a lot of action.
That's awesome. And my last question is just, I've always been intrigued to know why people open their gyms. And when I ask you why you open your gym, I also want to know, why is it you open a gym, and what is it that you hope to set forth as a legacy for your students?
Why open the gym? I think it just happened. I got offered to teach at another gym, and the gym ended up closing, and I was like, man, I think that's the time for me to open a gym. And just the thought came on, and everything went from there, but I'm really glad. I always think about that. I made my hobby, my passion, something I can, make money with, and be with a family. You know, my family is mostly in Brazil. You know, I had to come here to be with my daughter, but you know, like the family that you make through jiu-jitsu and having a gym, you know, it's deep. You know, it runs deep. So yeah, that's what I expect. Like. From my students, like keep the camaraderie, you know, keep that feeling of collaboration, you know, among them, and keeping that love among them, that friendship, you know, and just to make that grow, you know, and they can, you know, use jiu-jitsu as, you know, something positive in their lives, you know, to keep them from the, you know, all the bad shit around the world, and, you know, keep spreading that. That's what I expected. They keep spreading. Like my friend Rafael just opened his gym, and I can already see in the little time that he opened, you know, he's already has great people there with him, and he's spreading that love too, you know.
That's a good way to close. Felipe, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to talk with us. I'm just going to close this real quick, and I'll be right back with you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to this installment of the Grappling Hour. Here's how it works. We do more of these episodes. We do them weekly, and right after EBI, you're going to definitely see some interviews from me, but you're also going to see next week, we are going to have our premiere episode for Grappling Hour, which again is a spin-off of Verbal Tap. It's just more of the same. You know, at this point, who I am and what I do. So if you get the opportunity, go and follow us at grapplinghour.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook, all Grappling Hour. If you guys like this, definitely, you know, send us a note, share this, do all that sort of good stuff, because we definitely want to keep it growing and give grapplers the opportunity to get their voices and their narratives out there in the way that they deserve, like other MMA shows do. Anyway, I just want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. We will see you back for the premiere on Tuesday. So that's Tuesday, October 2nd, the premiere of Grappling Hour. And we're very excited. My thanks to Felipe. Thank you so much for popping in, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today.
No, thank you, Raph. I appreciate your opportunity and the space.
No problem. All right, guys, we'll see you on
Hey.
Tuesday.